Okay, today we're going to talk about what is evidence and how to produce evidence. And so evidence is just an argument that's taken from like usually like a any kind of the research that we've done. So it could be a book, an academic journal, a news article, etc. And it's just part of that news article that's turned into an argument that can be read in a debate. So here we have a piece of evidence that says if the Democrats win the House in the midterm elections, they'll preserve health care. And so it has the citation, so that's the author's name. It has the date it was produced. It has the article title. It says this is from Vox News, and then it has the website for that, and then when it was accessed, and the name of the person from our squad who accessed it. Now, this right here is just the direct text from an article. And so let's just first go just look at that on the website. And so it just is like this right here, and we can go find, so first off, so if we first off, so literally it's like this portion of the news article. First off, if Republicans lose control over the House, they'll lose the ability to send new bills. And then it literally is the same. Their agenda would be dead, agenda would be dead. And then it goes all the way through corporations and wealthy. So not really sure where that is in here. It looks like it's a little bit further down. So right here, corporations and wealthy. So I clearly just missed that. But anyway, so it's that piece of evidence right there. And so yeah, it looks a little bit different than it does on the website, but it does have kind of all of that together. And then you'll notice here, so after you find that piece of evidence, the person then went through and underlined it of all the parts that they thought were relevant, and then highlighted it to point out that this is the highlighted part that you read in a debate. So in a debate, you'd say Democrat loss will preserve, or Democrats are key to save healthcare, but you'd only read this highlighted part. So if Republicans lose the House, the conservative agenda would be dead. If the GOP holds Congress in 2018, the party could make another attempt at repealing Obamacare through reconciliation. A Democratic takeover would kill Obamacare repeal, no major cuts to welfare. So you can kind of see it's like the article has a lot more flowery language or like descriptive language or like other stuff, and the highlighting really gets it down to just the bare bones claim and reason for that claim. And so that helps you to be efficient because you can introduce stuff in the debate or introduce more stuff in the debate. So now let's go, we're just going to walk through the process of cutting a piece of evidence. So let's say, this evidence is from June 13th. But it says right now Democrats will take back the House in the midterm election. So let's make it a challenge and just see if we can't find a new piece of evidence about this issue. So first thing I'll do is just open up a new Google Sheet, and let's just go to Google News. So I'm just going to type in midterm election. Just start with that. Ooh, nice. And so the very first article right here is midterm elections odds aren't looking good for House Republicans. So I bet you this is going to maybe give us some article or some evidence or like a good idea for that. So, okay. So first we're just going to read that. So let's just scroll through it and take a look. Republicans are making every effort to keep their majorities. The presidential approval rating is 70, 41% approval rating. Retirement can be an advantage. So let's just say we'll stop right here at this point. So from here, from the start of the article, it really makes the argument the midterm election is just 3 months away, and President Trump's, while the Senate map might favor Republicans, the prospects in the House favor the Democrats. And the first argument it makes is it says that a president's approval rating, so approval rating is just like sort of like how well American citizens think the president is doing his or hopefully one day her job, correlates a lot with like how many seats that they win back in the House midterm election. And this paragraph says that if the president has a 50% approval rating, they lose about 30 seats. Trump has a 41% approval rating, and that suggests they might lose about 60 seats, and they only need to lose 23 to have the Democrats take control. And then it makes a historical claim and says it's similar to Obama in 2010, and in that election, Obama lost more than 60 seats. So I think that's a pretty good piece of evidence. So, okay, we found new evidence. That's great. So the first thing that we're going to do is we need to open up a new document. So for most of you all, you've downloaded Verbatim now. So you can either just go directly to Verbatim and just click Open, and it'll open a new document with all of these macros on top, and this is that Verbatim template that you installed. So the first thing that we're going to do is figure out what we want. So in this, we want those 3 paragraphs. So when you produce a piece of evidence, let's say you decide you only really want this first sentence. You can't just copy and paste that sentence. You have to copy and paste the entire paragraph that that evidence is included in, because it's expected that you provide the context for what you found that particular piece of evidence or that particular argument that you can make. So if you don't include that, you're essentially cheating, and that's like hiding the rest of the evidence from your opponents. So okay, so we went over there, we highlighted all of that. Now if we go and we just copy and paste this in, well, that looks pretty terrible. It's all in different formatting. Doesn't look very good. It's got all these hyperlinks in it. I hate that. That would make me not want to use it. So what we need to do is we just downloaded this Verbatim template. And so we need to use the Verbatim template in order to help us produce evidence that looks uniform. So the first thing we're going to do here is, I know a lot of you, I use the Command V or just the paste function on the computer to do this. What I want you to do instead is on your Verbatim template, it should map your F2 key to paste. Now for some of you on a Mac, you might have to hold the function key and then hit F2. The same on a Windows computer. But if you just hit that F2 paste, so if I click this button here, or if I hit F2 on my keyboard, it pastes the exact same text, but it removes all of the formatting from that text. So I'm going to copy and paste both of them here. So we have this version of the text, but it's in a different font than we use. It's in a much bigger font. It's got all these hyperlinks in it. It's not formatted correctly. This is exactly the same text and information, but it's all just put in the same format that all of our other files are put in. So this is really showing you the advantage of having a template right here. So for this, I'm going to delete that because I don't want that ugly version of this. And then we're going to just copy and paste and put that all together. So like right now, we have a piece of evidence that has these 4 paragraphs. These are the 4 that we wrote up here. Now we need to make a cite for our evidence. So the first thing that we do for a cite, it's just like citing something like a paper in school. We want to go find the author's name. So in this case, it's Stephen Rattner. So Stephen Rattner. And in this case, you could also obviously just copy and paste that person's name, but again, you don't want to copy and paste it using the format of the website. You'd want to always use that F2 to paste. So okay, so we've got his name in there. Now, what's the next thing that we need? So the next thing that we need is the author's qualifications. And so if you ever forget this here, you can write it down, because we'll write them all down here. But also, if you look in our team rules portion of our Dropbox, there's a card cutting guideline that goes through all of this information. So you can see it on the video. You can also see it on the website. You can also see it in this article. We'll leave it here. But so remember, it says, so we'll pull this up here. This is the rough format of a citation so that we can just like remember to follow it. So back here, okay. So we've got the person's first and last name. Now we need to go find this person's qualifications. So sometimes when you're on a website like this, you can click on the person's name. In this case, you can't, but this person has StephenRatner.com, so let's open that on a new thing. And we'll just scroll down to the bottom of the article. Sometimes it gives that person's qualifications. Oh, it does right here. So it says Stephen Ratner is the chairman and chief executive officer of Willett Advisors LLC. In addition, he serves as economic analyst on NBC's Morning Joe and is a writer to the New York Times op-ed page. So I like all of that. Like, that's a lot of stuff. So why don't we just copy and paste that, and then we'll literally just put that right there. Boom. Chairman and CEO of all this stuff. So now we think this person's qualified. The next thing, the complete publication date. So we'll go back here. This was published 18 hours ago, and you can see here, so that means it was published on August 8th. So this is going to be 8/8/2018. Then the next thing that we need, so we got complete publication date, we need the article title. So the midterm elections aren't looking good for House Republicans. We're just going to copy and paste that in there. Then we need article source. So this is from Business Insider. Right there, Business Insider. Source information if relevant. So if we wanted to put anything about that, we don't need that. Then the website. So this is the web link. So we're going to copy and paste that. And again, we're going to paste that with F2 so that it doesn't paste it as a hyperlink and it removes the formatting. And then the last thing is we're going to put our name, so Kent Denver, so is the school that we're from. Obviously, if you're watching this and you're from another school, put your school. And then put your initials, and that just helps. So if someone has questions about the evidence, they can always contact you or know that someone produced it. Or at least we can know that someone at our school produced this evidence. Now, we're going to put all of that in brackets. So that's like the full citation. Now we're just going to put what we would actually read in a debate in the front here. So we're just going to write Ratner. And since this evidence is pretty new, I would say if it's in the last 3 months, you want to put the date, the actual month and day. If this was from last year or it was older, we'd just put 2018. But in this case, we're going to put 8/8 because we want people to know that it's new. Now, we have all that done. Good job. We just made our first site. Now, what you want to do is remember, we're using these macros for everything. So right now, the format of this is it's just in what's called cleared text. So this is just like normal formatting of the cards, or of the computer. So this is just like normal font. But because we want to read this site in a debate, we're going to highlight that portion of the site, and we're going to click up here where it says Cite, or F8, and we're going to click F8. And boom, now we've got a site in there. Excellent. Okay, so let's pull back up that guide, that like team rules guide, just so that we have the instructions with us. So we're doing those with the video and then doing it all together. So in that card cutting list, so it says open up verbatim, save, always paste special, so that's using the F2 portion of the template. You should remove returns. Well, there's no returns in this one. And then ultimately we want to make a card that looks like this. So this part has a longer explanation, and it's like evidence has 3 parts. The first portion of evidence is a tag. And so in this case, we want to write a tag that's like a summary of what we think all of this paragraph says. So sometimes if you like remember what it said in the article and you know what you want your tag to say, you can just write it. The other way to do it is to re-go through your evidence and then figure out what it says. So let's do that together. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go through the evidence and we're going to underline all of the relevant parts of that. So if somebody new that had never read this article before wanted to get the gist of it, they could just read the underlined portions of it and they would get all of the argument that we want to say. And remember, we don't want to use Command U to underline. We want to use the macro. So this is F9 for underline. So let's see. So it's like the midterm elections are 3 months away. Maybe that's relevant. Maybe it's not. Let's just put that for now. The midterm elections are 3 months away. While the Senate map favors the Republicans, the prospects in the House are decidedly in Democrats' favor. So that's really good. And then it says, as this chart shows, there's an extremely high 70% correlation between a president's approval rating and how his team fares in the midterm elections. That's a great thing. We don't really need all this statistical explanation, and we don't have the chart, so it's not as really that relevant. But we know that there's a chart and he's giving statistical evidence. Then it says, if the president had a 50% approval rating, his party would be expected to lose around 30 seats. Trump had a 41% approval rating. would suggest a loss of more than 60 seats, vastly greater than the 23 seats needed to swing control. Okay, that's really good. Then it says the last president to face similar situations was Barack Obama in 2010. He lost more than 60. The only other person who approval rating similar to Trump was Bush in 2006. He lost 30 seats. Either way, so we have a good piece of evidence now, and we have both our claim. So from this evidence, we want to say Democrats will win the House now, is really what we're trying to say. And the reason for this is Trump's approval ratings. Good. So now we've typed out that tag, and that's what we're going to read in debate. We're going to look up here. Oh, wow, there's a tag function here. So we're going to want to highlight that, and we're going to want to hit F7. And you'll notice now that that shows up on our document map here on the side, and that's why we use macros, because the document map helps us navigate this file to get to the parts of the file that we need. But if every line of the file showed up here, it would be completely unusable. So that's why only certain portions of this file show up. Okay, so we wrote our tag out. Now, we wouldn't read all of this underlined portion in a debate, but rather we would only read the essential arguments to communicate our point. So we need to highlight this evidence. So, right now I would say, I'd be like, the prospects in the House are in Democrats' favor. There's an extremely high correlation between the president's approval and how his team fares. Trump at 41% approval would suggest a loss of more than 60 seats, vastly greater than the 23 needed to swing control. Now, that already communicates our argument. If we wanted to include this line, Obama in 2010 lost more than 60, we could. So then we have our evidence, so it's like a data-based argument, and then we have a historical argument as well. I think that's fine. You could also say, I don't really want to include that, and maybe we choose not to highlight that in this one. So we just have this portion right here. And so that's all we would read in the debate. So we'd introduce that evidence. So now we have a piece of evidence that has a tag, clear argument. It has the author and the date. It has the portion that we would read in the debate. And the last part we want to do is we want to emphasize any parts of this that are like really important. And so I really like this like extremely high correlation. So I might box that so people, when they read that, they would know that's like a part of the evidence that you'd emphasize. Extremely high. And then another one, loss of more than 60 seats. I think that's good. So, you don't want to emphasize every little thing in the card, but emphasizing a few key points can help make it sound more persuasive, can help someone know that that's an important fact that they should emphasize in their debates. And now we have this evidence produced. We'd want to go figure out where to put it in terms of our file. So if you're not sure, maybe you'd just save it on Dropbox or you'd send it to a coach. But in this case, we know it says Democrats will win the House now in the midterm. Okay, well, if we copy and paste this, well, they have this portion of the file that's Democrats will win the House now. Let's just go copy and paste the new piece of evidence in there because it's much newer than their older pieces of evidence from June. And so, eventually we may edit that file or delete it, but for now we're just going to go copy and paste that in there so that everybody can use it on the team. We'll save the file, and then boom, we just cut our first piece of evidence. So remember, cutting evidence is fun because it helps you come up with new arguments in debates. It makes you learn a lot more about the topic so that you can sound better, but it also helps our team win. I always found it enjoyable to know that even if I wasn't the person that won a debate, if my evidence and work that I did helped somebody else, it's always a really gratifying feeling. And on our team, it's really important that we all work together and we all try to develop our arguments together. So cutting evidence and doing work for others is one way that you can make our team a better place, and you can help it make everyone more successful.